Hey guys, Butts here, and today I want to talk about what I league started earlier this week. I know that's silly, but I was a little bored with hardcore, so I rerolled softcore trade, and it's been really fun. What I league started was Locust Mine, Power Siphon, Assassin, and let me give you like the elevator pitch on why. So Locust Mines is an absurd support gem. It's literally triple damage if you can get past the downside, but in my opinion, every other projectile skill that I've used with it just feels completely unplayable with it because it fires them all back into you, making your clear just god-awful. However, Power Siphon auto-targets, so that downside doesn't happen. Power Siphon also has a ton of projectiles, so that less projectile mod matters significantly less. So it kind of just ends up being like triple damage for Power Siphon particularly. It makes it really similar to using something like Sunblast, where it's like a clear downside, but just like triple damage. This one's not nearly as painful as something like Sunblast, but you know, anyways. The other reason was, since Power Siphon has this 10% more critical strike chance line, it means that you get to completely overcome the downside of Maryland's fallacy. Like on pretty much all the builds I've been making with this, it's just a 240 crit multi-amulet, which that's like freaking nuts, right? That is so much damage. And since the Covenant was like 70C, 6-linked, when I got to first lab, I just farmed it for like 40 minutes until I got one of the 3 gems that were worth like 70C plus. And then I traded it for a Covenant, and it was pretty much smooth sailing ever since then. The other thing is, since you're like this like perfect agony crit multi like poison package, you get to use Assassin Ascendancy, which you could certainly get a much beefier character going Pathfinder, but poison Assassin is still like crazy damage wise. Noxious Strikes, usually like 100% more damage, a little bit more because you get 40% poison chance. Toxic Delivery, 25% more damage, you're crit capped. Opportunistic, 25% more damage against single target. And then I'm using Unstable Infusion, which I think is like 16% more. But yeah, so long story short, choosing Assassin here is like almost 200% more damage, which is just an absolutely absurd amount of damage from an Ascendancy. Oh, one last thing I wanted to touch on why I chose this, because Swift Killer, the +2 Frenzy Forbidden Flesh Flame Jewel off Trickster, was really cheap, and it's like 20% more damage. I was ideally planning on getting Born in the Shadows off Sabo, which is that 15% reduced damage taken and nearby enemies are blinded node, since this build lacks mitigation, but that spiked for whatever reason, so I did settle for Swift Killer. Let's talk about pros and cons. Pros, like pretty much ever since Act 5, when I was like, my Power Siphon was firing like 4 projectiles, it was chaining twice, and then I've charged mine, so I'm throwing really quickly. The clear was super good. I was actually shocked that more people don't play this after playing it, because I'm just not used to having that kind of clear in the campaign. So yeah, it's like pretty impressed. Later on, that did fall off a bit when the maps got extremely dense. I ran into this problem that I run in with Arc sometimes, where on a skill that doesn't like pierce a ton of enemies or like have like an AoE component, you do kind of run into this thing where you don't hit enough of the mobs if there's that many on the screen. So I ended up switching to like an obliteration when I was farming shrines. I was doing like the Scarab of Teachings for increased XP per each shrine, and the maps were like incredibly dense. Obliteration makes my damage like less than a third of what it is, but it did make clearing those maps bearable and like pretty good. Later on, when I had a little more money, I switched to large chaos cluster with unspeakable gifts, and a megalomaniac was another unspeakable gift. So I had 20% chance to explode, just like an obliteration without destroying my single target by using obliteration, which is a terrible attack wand. Decent one for spellcasters. Anyways, single target felt pretty good throughout. I would say it felt pretty annoying early on because I was using the mine mastery for mines that are detonated when you move. But since this build has a ton of frenzy charges and is using charged mines, we throw more than 15 mines in a second, which means that you need to throw 15 and then move because the mine caps at 15. And then since they have a little delay on when they detonate, it made single target kind of annoying to do. And it hurts your damage because you like have less DPS uptime. I did switch to automation support plus detonate mines, and then the single target felt great. Yeah, I could sit there and spam. So definitely do that when you have the sockets. Anybody who hasn't played a poison assassin before, your poisons last like 6 seconds, so you have some serious ramp. So your DPS can feel a little slow at first, and if you're fighting a boss like Cyrus where he moves a bunch, your DPS is going to feel a lot less than like what it should. I did do, I mean, I've done all content on this build. I haven't done all Ubers, but I did Cyrus, and damage felt really good, but it, you know, like fights like that or like Maven, you're going to feel like your DPS is less than what it should be. Anyways, moving on to downsides. So I'd say they're all kind of under this umbrella of the fences in this build could probably be summed up most with the song Tub Thumpin' by Chumbawamba, where you get knocked down, because holy shit that you get knocked down a lot in this build. I'm not used to playing a build of Squishy, and I'm not used to running content this rippy. I have died a lot. I know it's way more than 100. I don't know how many, but it's a lot. And like we have a big hit pool with Glorious Vanity giving us 15% life as extra yes. We have a large amount of evasion with Ghost Dance. And we have some max res with Tides of Time for triple LE flasks. And we're mostly suppression capped, just under. I think it's like 97% chance. Anyways, our Fizz mitigation, atrocious. It's literally Taste of Hate and Fizz Taken as crafted on my helmet. I would get it crafted on with Corel, like the Corel Fizz Taken as fire. However, I would probably need to multi-mod a helmet because I'm not going to give up the trigger helmet craft so that I can, you know, trigger all of my curses. I have Despair, Punishment, and Temporal Chains in there. Eventually, like I said later on, you'll multi-mod and have Fizz Taken as there. But your Fizz mitigation on this build is always going to be a little bad unless you decide to drop the Glorious Vanity, which means you need to get Wither somewhere else, like through a, what's that unique jewel where if you manually cast Despair, I'm totally spacing on it, I'm sorry. But then if you drop your Glorious Vanity, you can pick up a Lethal Pride and then try to get like 2 to 3 Fizz Taken as fire on there. And then that will help some with your Fizz mitigation. Also related to the survivability, this build sustains pretty bad. Like, you recover, I think, all of your life when you press your life last because Tides of Time like gives you an absurd amount of life recovery. Oh yeah, it's like 3,000 instantly, so not quite, but a lot. So like if you press your flask, you like are instantly back to full if you use an instant life flask. However, like you don't have regen, and the only source of regen you do have is constant uptime on the flask with the mod of 50% fizz damage or 15% of damage taken leached as life. And the reason I use that mod is because we are mines, so we can't leech, and that mod is pretty noticeable if you guys haven't used it before. We are fully ailment immune. I would be stun immune if I would either swap from ailment immunity to stun immunity on the boots and then get the stun avoidance mod on a flask. If I drop that 15% damage taken leached as life node for stun, we could be stun and ailment immune, or if we use purity of elements, we could swap the shock avoidance to stun avoidance on the boots. There are ways to get both, but we just have one. And our hit pool is not super high, so our stun threshold I think is like 5,000, maybe a little bit more, because I have stun threshold in the boots as well. Yeah, I think that's mostly the downsides. They're pretty much all survivability related. Like the clear is good, single target is good. Actually, I mean I would argue the clear is great, honestly, and the single target could be great. Like this build could be pretty easily dot capped if you use, Balance of Terror. That's the truest thing of where you cast Despair. You flick Wither and hit. Using like something like Balance of Terror, dropping Chain for Awakened Deadly Elements or Awakened Void Manip or Trap Mind Damage. I think we're like at 30 mil with something like that. And then if you, obviously if you have like something absurd like Nimis, that's just like double damage. And I have a rare ring that I'm using, so you could just drop it for that. But yeah, I think that's pretty much covers all the things I want to talk about with this build. I've been having a really good time with it, and I think it's really fun. I hope you guys enjoy it if you try it. Thanks for stopping by. See ya.